Welcome to Beware Mysterious Mark. This 10-part series is a harrowing, true account of elder financial abuse. Some of what you'll hear may be unsettling. That's intentional, because this can happen to anyone, your parent, your partner, your friend. Our goal is to expose how these schemes work, reveal the warning signs, and help you stop it before it happens to someone you love. So listen closely. Awareness is your first line of defense. In episode 6 of Beware Mysterious Mark, Brooke hired a new lawyer, and Mark and Donna tried to access Bert's bank accounts. Now here's episode 7, titled, Mr. Marshall, You're Not a Charity. Again, here is our storyteller, Nancy Miles.
When Brooke arrived home after a lengthy and baffling conversation with her dad, Bert, on March 14th, 2020, she was exhausted, demoralized, and fed up.
I've had it, Nance. I can't put out all the fires Mark's setting in Dad's head. I've lost Dad's trust. And I just can't see how I can ever get it back when Mark's poison is swirling around Dad's tired old brain 24/7.
Oh, that's bad, huh? I'm almost afraid to ask what happened.
Well, remember when we spoke 3 weeks ago when Dad definitely wanted me to be his POA?
Yeah.
Not anymore. Dad believes that I turned him into Dr. Kupar to take away his financial freedom.
That's just the creeps talking. You didn't, hon. Dr. Kupar had her own observations and concerns.
I know. But Dad told me Donna would never report him to a doctor, even if he's dying. Just think of the conversation Mark and Donna must have had with Dad for her to come up with that.
Yeah, it's repugnant. So tell me, you're no longer on the fence about her, are you?
No, but there's more. It's so strange, Nance. We were arguing for ages, and then all of a sudden, Dad says something very bizarre. He seemed to be determined to get his name off Poplar Hill's deed if I remove my name from the joint stock account. He kept saying, after I die, they'll come after you for the house. He repeated this 3 or 4 times.
What? You did what? You told your dad you'd remove your name from the stock account?
Well, he's going to take his name off Poplar Hill.
So what? You own it in joint tenancy. You'll automatically inherit it when he dies. Your dad's being controlled by Mark, and they're both just jerking you around again.
I've told you. I expect to receive what Mum gave me. But if Dad wants to give his money to them, yeah, it hurts. It really hurts. But I'll respect his wishes.
His wishes? Ha! Your mum gave you that house in its entirety. You still haven't received it, have you? More than 2 years later? Now your dad's kind of blackmailing you, pushing you to pay for your own inheritance. I mean, he's got no right to get half of the value of that house in cash out of you. Neither of you do. Well, it's in joint tenancy. It's last man standing gets the house, right?
Right. But maybe he should have had half of the house when Mum died.
Maybe so, but then your mum's estate would have included half of the stocks, right? And your dad would have had to sell some to give you the $500,000.
It's not about money.
It damn well is from Mark and Donna, Brooke. Come on. It's not like your dad's planning to give his money to the hospital or the Vets Association or even your mum's donkey charity. That would be okay, maybe even laudable. Instead, he's being bullied, lied to, and influenced by these greedy grifters to act against you to get your family's assets. Your dad's vulnerable. And let's face it, losing the plot big time. They're exploiting both of you just to get what they don't effing deserve. Man, your mum worked so hard. If she knew what was happening.
I know, she'd be heartbroken. Her small business and real estate acumen made a substantial difference to their net worth and retirement. And yes, she despised Mark. I think she had his number from the very beginning, but this is where I'm at now. Dad believes they care for him, but he doesn't want to live with us.
Yeah, and that's down to me, right? Because that SOB Mark has coerced your dad against me without a shred of proof. And you're being punished for it in every friggin' way. And now you've agreed to give up your rights to your old man's estate just to get back what your mum legally left you. That's wrong, Brooke. Can't you see that? So effing wrong. Then, on Monday, March 16th, social worker Jason called and asked Brooke to meet with psychiatrist Dr. Becker the next morning. By herself. We wondered. Well, St. Patrick's Day 2020 will go down in our history, and not for any leprechaun sighting. Brooke came home, all agog, after meeting alone with Dr. Becker. She handed me a single sheet of paper and said,
It was surreal, Nance. The place was nearly empty. This weird COVID virus shut everything down. Our meeting only lasted about 20 minutes. Dr. Becker explained Dad's CT scan. I didn't understand a word, except gray matter and white matter, whatever they are, and that I was to take this letter to Dad's bank.
What?
Yeah. Dr. Becker read me this letter out loud. He said it was a temporary decision, but he believed it would be permanent, based on concerns he saw on Dad's CT scan. Something about areas of his behavior, like stubbornness and impulsivity and changing and getting worse. And, oh, God, to admit, after hearing him read the letter, I kind of zoned out.
Huh? What? Well, what does it say? Oh, give it here. On Dr. Becker's hospital letterhead, March 17th, 2020. Albert Cooper is incapable of financial decision-making. Oh, wow. Incapable of financial decision-making. Wow, that's just amazing, hon. You know, I think you now have control over your dad's money. Frig, we've got Mark by the you-know-whats.
Maybe. But I feel like I'm in an alternate universe, Nance. Dad just said a doctor could do this. And 2 days later, it happened with the swipe of Dr. Becker's pen.
It is an incredible coincidence, yeah.
Do you think Mark could be involved?
Mark? What? Orchestrated all this? Wow, the mind boggles. No, honestly, that seems a bit far-fetched, even for that scumbag. Besides, we've got to deal with something much more immediate, much closer to home. Who's gonna tell your dad? Moments later, the phone rang. It was the social worker, Jason. He said, since they believed Bert and Mark would unjustly scapegoat Brooke, in other words, blame her, for Dr. Becker's letter, he and Jennifer would visit Bert in person tomorrow, deliver Dr. Becker's letter, and explain all the implications. Phew. Boy, did I want to be a fly on the wall for that. I didn't get to be the fly, but got to buzz right close via a call from Jason to Brooke after his meeting with Bert. Jason said he explained the implications of Dr. Becker's letter to Bert. The upshot? Bert can withdraw money on a regular basis to handle his living expenses, but he must now talk to Brooke first before making any major financial decisions. When Brooke asked how that went, Jason responded.
Well, Brooke, it went okay. Jennifer and I were surprised when we arrived that Mark was there.
Oh, geez.
We told your dad the information we had to share was sensitive and asked if he wanted Mark to hear, and he said that's why I invited him.
So you met the marvelous Mark?
We told your father that it's our professional obligation to follow up on any allegations of abuse and neglect. Your dad, maybe because Mark and Donna have influenced his thinking, maybe not, has come to the conclusion that you're the one telling the banks, the police, the health authority, and everyone about what's going on. I told him it wasn't true, and that there have been multiple concerned community members who've come forward to us. I said my referral for you didn't come from Brooke, it came from Dr. Kupar. I also said, Bert, it's unfair to blame Brooke for the scrutiny you've been going through over the last year. We're using the precautionary principle. Generally, Bert, you're a very high-functioning person, extremely independent. However, there are some red flags that cause some concern.
Yeah.
Then Jennifer shared some of her assessment findings of your father's short-term memory loss and concerns around his higher-level executive function. After Jen finished, I told your father a person can be high-functioning in some areas, but struggle in others. And we have to do our due diligence to ensure that if anyone is trying to influence you or that you're making financial decisions under duress, that we thoroughly assess that you're capable of making those decisions. So I said the assessment will continue, and there are a few pieces outstanding, but I don't know when they'll be because of this terrible global pandemic.
Oh, how did he react?
He took it pretty well. But Mark may have an influence over how your father sees our meeting today, or how he remembers it.
Well, I think you did very well today, Jason. Sounds like the presentation you made was worded well. Thank you.
Yeah, you're in a tough position, Brooke. On the one hand, you're a daughter to him. On the other, you now have control over him.
I know. It's awkward, Jason. But it wasn't always like this, you know. 2 or 3 times Dad mentioned to me, "It isn't you, it's Nancy. I don't trust Nancy." So Mark successfully put a distance between them, and now it's swerved over to me. But it certainly wasn't there when Mum was alive. The only thing I can see that's different is Mark.
Well, that's interesting. Because along those lines, I had to tell Mark, if you're saying things that are causing Bert to be more suspicious or untrusting of his daughter, that actually makes you look suspicious to people like me or other responders to these neglect allegations. If you're driving a wedge mark, turning an older person against their family, that's trademark behavior of abusers, a tried and true strategy. I told him that this wasn't the first time I've seen this conduct, and from the perspective of the health authority, he's under scrutiny. Like, just so you know, Mark, people are watching.
Oh, wow. Well, good for you.
Your dad's been through a lot this year, with visits with a number of us. The police have been to the home, the bank's second-guessing him. I see his anger as a grief reaction to losing his autonomy. He feels people aren't trusting his judgment, are overreaching, and treating him like an infant who can't decide what he wants to do about anything. I told him he doesn't have to apologize for being angry. It's normal and okay. I think overall, Brooke, your father sees that you care about him. Overall, he may start to be more suspicious because of things said to him or resentful that you're his power of attorney. But when I asked if he believed you loved him and are acting in his best interests, he said yes. I believe he doesn't think you have any ulterior motives.
Well, I'm relieved to hear that. Thank you.
So, now you can see the battle line was clearly drawn, with Bert, Mark, and Donna on one side, and Brooke, me, along with members of the health authority, the police, the bank, and her dad's friends and neighbors on the other. I know this wasn't what Brooke wanted or planned, and I believe Bert would have felt the same. It was so obvious that all Bert's animosity towards Brooke was down to Mark Marshall. Unfortunately, though, we were imprisoned in our points of view. From now on, whenever Brooke attempted to cross the battle line to try to support her dad, she stepped into one of the sociopath's incessant minefields. Okay, there were an astonishing flurry of tit-for-tat moves between Mark and others during the next April, May, and June. You may find my speedy litany alarming, confusing, and over the top. But hey, welcome to Planet Mark. To save time and sanity for all, It's best that I just blast by you the choice bits of dialogue and make it easier for you to catch on by providing the date and introducing the speakers. March 24th, RCMP Constable Fredericks phoned Mark Marshall and said,
Mr. Marshall, the RCMP is aware of what you're attempting to do. If we see the slightest bit of criminality, we'll take action immediately.
Mark Marshall responded,
Bert just wants his money to go to charity.
Mr. Marshall, you're not a charity.
We're going to appeal Dr. Becker's decision.
March 25th, social worker Jason touched base with Brooke by phone.
I'm following up on your father's tests. In a nutshell, he was more confused, unable to answer some questions, and had difficulty finishing his thoughts. This is all consistent with a frontal lobe issue. Dr. Becker's going to call him about his letter of financial incapability. He'll inform your father that he cannot change his will or POA at this time.
March 30th, Jason called again, this time with some advice.
You'd better give your father some space, Brooke. He's really angry and scapegoating you. Brace yourself and realize this is a marathon. You can't shift the dynamic between your father and Mark and Donna. You can only do so much to protect them.
On April 16th, Bert ambushed Brooke during a visit to Poplar Hill.
Don't try making friends with me, Brooke. I don't like the way that you're getting lawyers. We've been talking to lawyers about real estate, and they say you've been inquiring and they can't deal with us.
I have one lawyer, Dad. Simon Hillsborough. Is that who you were talking to?
April 21st, our lawyer Simon shared some dumbfounding information.
I spoke with another local lawyer. He said Bert had visited his office twice, once with Mark, and that Mark had previously called a couple of times asking how to change a POA. He then said it was obvious things weren't on the up and up, and when he finally met Mark, he said he wouldn't touch your father's business with a 10-foot pole.
On April 27th, Bert surprisingly about-faced during Brooke's quick follow-up phone call.
I'm very sorry, Brooke. It had nothing to do with you, dear. I just didn't know what to think.
On May 4th, Poplar Hill neighbour Anne phoned Brooke.
I met your father on the road this morning, Brooke. He was very depressed. No visits. Said Mark and Donna only come 15 minutes a day. Complained that the house and garden were too much for him.
During Brooke's May 5th visit with her dad, a calm and relaxed Bert.
I'm happy and content, Brooke.
The very next day, when Brooke dropped by the family home, Bert was enraged. Why? Well, we only found out a month later. But you can guess, can't you?
I don't want your help, Brooke. You've got the doctor in your pocket. You're bipolar, you speak garbage, and you go home and make stuff up. I know Mark's pushy, always wanting control, but he's clever, and I like him. He and Donna love Poplar Hill and want to live here.
May 8th, Brooke visits her dad again and makes a sensible suggestion.
Why don't you pay Mark and Donna to take care of you, at least during the pandemic?
No, I don't want to. They're getting money from the COVID.
About the same time, Simon offered a perfect metaphor for Bert's situation.
Brooke, let's face it. Your father can make a turkey sandwich, but he can't make an entire turkey dinner.
On May 11th, during a visit, Bert shocks Vicky with a couple of eye-openers.
Mark's suing the bank for lying about him, and we're seeing a lawyer because neither Mark nor I think Mum's will is legal.
On May 21st, Dr. Kupar gives Brooke some sound advice.
I don't think you should visit your dad for a while, Brooke. Just manage his money and let his caregivers handle him. The stress is too great for you and your dad.
On June 6th, my sharp eyes noticed something dismaying. Your dad's car has a new license plate. Damn, Brooke! I bet you he's given it to one of the creeps. On June 10th, neighbour Anne made another call to Brooke.
I I don't know how to tell you this, Brooke, but you should know. When your father came over for a visit yesterday, he stayed hours and he talked a lot, banging on and on about how wonderful Mark was.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anne.
Not your fault, but Phil and I thought that you should know some of the things he said.
Okay.
First, your father's given his car to Donna. Then he said that you were out to get him. But he's going to get you first. I'm so sorry.
Oh, boy. I just don't recognize him anymore.
We don't either. He complained about a circle of people holding him back doing what he wants with his money. And then he told us how upset he was that he was limited to only $500 a day from the bank. Phil and I thought that was a large amount, $15,000 a month.
You see, the bank told me, as his POA, to choose an amount. They suggested $250 to $300 a day, but I didn't want Dad to feel restricted.
Well, your father said he was fine with it when you came over to talk about it, but then Mark came later and told him it wasn't a very nice thing for you to do. Your dad said he then stewed about it all night, getting cross.
So that's why he went all Jekyll and Hyde on me in early May. Wow, trust Mark to stir him up about me.
During one of our many conversations around this time, Simon expressed all our views when we learned that Mark was continuing to embrace a key strategy, often found in classic financial elder abuse.
We now know Mark has taken your father to, and been rejected by, at least 5 legal representatives. This really stinks.
On June 12th, Brooke, with my sister riding shotgun, visited Bert to tell him that Dr. Becker planned another meeting. Afterwards, my sister told me she feared Bert would have struck Brooke if he hadn't been so wobbly. This because Bert went berserk, arms thrown up, blaming Brooke for all his troubles.
It's your circle of friends. All 16 of you. You're making this stuff up, Brooke. And the 3 of us have to live in this negativity all the time. We just say things. You take it too seriously and you make stuff up.
Okay, Dad.
And you've got the bank in your pocket. And Mark and I don't believe Mum's will is legal.
My God, Dad, that's just ridiculous. I'm just here to let you know about the meeting with Dr. Becker.
Dr. Becker's nothing more than a nutcase.
Our dramatization continues in the next episode, but now we explore today's theme: what capacity actually means in medical and legal terms, the 4 C's a clinician looks for in an assessment, and the difference between a bad decision and an incapable one. Dr. Josh Budlovski is a geriatrician practicing in Victoria.
When we assess somebody for their cognition, capacity is not usually the first thing that we look at, although it is certainly an important thing, and as cognitive impairment advances, often an issue that comes up. But I'll just preface this by saying that that's not usually our initial focus, per se. The first thing to say about capacity is that everybody in the law is assumed to have capacity unless there is reason or evidence to the contrary. So nobody's ever done, as far as I know, a capacity assessment on me or perhaps on you. And so there is an assumed capacity in all individuals. Capacity is assumed. It is only if issues come up that bring that into question that a capacity assessment is usually necessary. When we're doing a capacity assessment, it is very helpful to first identify, does this individual have a known diagnosis or issue that would put that into question in the first place? So if somebody does not have any history of cognitive impairment, it's a somewhat different lens that one would look at as opposed to somebody that has a known history of cognitive impairment and we're seeing these progressive changes. That doesn't mean that the actual capacity assessment is different, but certainly the context in which it occurs is very important, in the medical context. When we're actually assessing capacity, there's different formulas or ways that people look at it. The way that I often look at it, there's they call the 4 C's approach. And the 4 C's are, so the first is the ability to communicate what choices they have or what the issues are. So, and can they communicate that consistently? If somebody, makes a decision and then they make a very different decision, what we're looking for in capacity assessments is somebody relatively consistent in their thought-making process. Do they understand, as I mentioned before, the choices that they have? So what are the issues being identified? And do they understand the consequences of their decisions? The last thing, so that's sort of the broad picture of a capacity assessment. The last thing is that capacity is specific to a task. So there is financial capacity, there is capacity to live independently, for example, there's driving capacity. So capacity is task specific. Sometimes we do get involved in global capacities, capacity of personhood. Is this person able to make legal decisions for themselves, which would include things like where they live and who they associate with and, medical treatments and finances. But generally speaking, when we're asked about capacity, it is capacity for a specific item, issue, or task. Capacity is a legal definition, and that's what we're talking about. When we're doing a capacity assessment, this is a medical legal sort of assessment or term, and this, has legal ramifications, and it can go to a judge, and the judge decides whether or not, the person is competent to do this. So the capacity is sort of the medical side of this, and then the competency is what the judge would sort of yay or nay, versus capability is somebody able to actually do a task. Somebody might be able to, they're capable of doing a specific task, but their capacity in terms of actually, Dad can write a check. Okay, well that is one piece, but a formal financial capacity assessment is a much broader sort of term. Can they independently manage their finances? It is important to identify, what are the normal changes that occur with aging? What are the abnormal changes that might be occurring? And to also recognize to not being ageist. People make assumptions about, as people age, what is a right thing and what is a wrong thing, and yet they might not make those similar assumptions in a younger individual. People are allowed to make bad decisions, and God knows, 20-year-olds make lots of poor decisions, as do 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds, and there's nothing special when you're 80 about making good or bad decisions. And so it is a fine balance, to weigh the sort of the consequences, but also to say, listen, people are allowed to make bad decisions.
Today's episode featured the voices of Susan Anderson as Nancy, Susan Wilkie as Brooke, Rick Caulfield as Jason, Richard Makowitz as RCMP Constable Fredericks, Jason Stevens as Mark, Andy Dawson-Reed as Bert, Joe Supple as Simon, and Suniti Arens as Dr. Kupar. This is a production of Radio Sydney, with support from the Government of Canada's New Horizons program for seniors. The series was produced by Bill Collins, written by Nancy Miles and Brooke Cooper. Dramatization was directed by Matt Watson, with sound engineering by Bill Collins. I'm Barry Bowman. Please join us again.